Okay, time now for a little history lesson. Many years ago, once upon a time, the most important thing in the world was land. And this was the agricultural age. This was the era when basically the most important thing in the world was to have land and to be able to grow food and be able to feed yourselves. Food was scarce. The quality of food was not particularly good or healthy. We didn't have a large variety of strains of food. North America hadn't been discovered yet, so there was no corn or potatoes or tomatoes and things like that. And food was scarce. And, I know we all like to watch movies about kings and swords and sorcery, and all the actors are good looking and they all have their teeth. But, this was not a good time to live. Even kings and queens died young. Most queens died in childbirth. Most infants died. When a new disease came, often a third of the population to a half the population would die. There was war, there was death, there was poor health. There were no individual rights. Superstition was rampant. Witches were burned. And this was not really a good time to be alive. And I know that we like to talk about, back in the good old days, get back to nature. But the agricultural age was not a particularly good time. In fact, here's an example of what the time was like. Here's a question. How many different words are there in the English language for the different ways that poo can be splattered upon your body? Think about that. You've heard of the word shit and crap and poo, but how many different words are there in the English language for the way that this would be splattered upon your body? There's 23 different words in the English language for this. Now imagine the way most conversations started back in the agricultural age. Hey, Steve, how you doing? I see you have some of this type of poo on you. Well, actually, no, this was poo that was dropped from above that got on me. But that down here is poo that fell on top of poo and splattered on top of you. There were so many different ways that people had feces splattered upon them, that they had a different language, a different word for each different way that this fell on them or splattered onto them or was pushed onto them, whether it was from a horse or an animal or another human being. There was a lot of poo back then. Isn't it nice that you don't know this number of words? It's the same reason why the Inuit in Canada have 23 different words for snow. There's a lot of snow up there, and so they talk about snow a lot, and they have a lot of flavor to the different ways that they talk about snow. Fortunately, we don't have that. So the New Age was the Industrial Revolution, where power of machinery was important, and there was the battle between capital and labor, that capital enabled you to buy better machinery and reduce the cost of production and enhance productivity. And there were these battles between capitalism and socialism, if you will, that the laborers said, nope, the labor theory of value, one of the foundations of communism, basically said the value of a product is equal to the quantity of labor that goes into it. And any additional value beyond the labor is basically theft from the working class. And the capitalists said, no, it's not the value of labor that's important, it's the value of money that's important, that the ability to buy better machinery is important. And there was this battle between communism or socialism and capitalism. But what we've really discovered in the Industrial Revolution is the power of free trade of goods and services, and that areas of the world that have individual rights, that respect private property and have the rule of law, have greater prosperity. So areas of the world where they don't have property rights, it's really hard to get ahead. So, for example, maybe I shouldn't use an example, but there's many parts in the world where you can't really own free and clear title to your own property. And as a result of that, because people don't have the value of their home, they don't have collateral, they don't have security to be able to get a loan, in which case entrepreneurship is extremely difficult. Similarly, areas of the world where half their population, for example, the female half, have so few rights, they find it hard to get ahead. And so they don't have half of their population contributing to the prosperity of civilization. And what we've learned from the Industrial Revolution is that despite all of its problems, the Industrial Revolution helped dramatically increase the quantity of wealth in the world. And I know the Industrial Revolution people don't like that there was child labor, and people don't like some of the conditions that people had in the cities. But, these children didn't have a good life on the farm either. And nobody pointed a gun at their head and said, "You, get off the farm, go work in the city." Working in the bad conditions in the city was a better choice than working in the bad conditions in the farms. And so people left the agricultural life and moved into the city in flocks. And we see this happening throughout the world now, that even despite the problems caused by the Industrial Revolution, that's still something better than the problems in the era of agricultural, where basically it's backbreaking labor and you want to have as many children as possible so that the children can help do the hard work on the farms all day, every day. But we're in a new era now, and this is the era that we currently live in, and this is the information age. You may have heard this called the digital era or the era of the knowledge workers. But now the primary value isn't just machinery, but it's the value of knowledge. It's the value of innovation. It's the value of new technology. It's the value in medicine, music, entertainment, and these soft areas. Basically, it's no longer the power of land, labor, or capital. It's the power of the mind that's important. The power of the mind is more important than land. In fact, we can grow more food than we can currently eat. In fact, we're turning food into fuel. Many governments are forcing people to turn corn or other products into fuel. Yes, there's been a temporary problem with the shortage of some food, but we can grow more food than we can eat, and we're basically wasting food, turning it into oil. In fact, we're paying farmers not to grow food. There's tremendous subsidies in the Western Hemisphere and in the civilized, developed world where they pay farmers to not grow stuff. The real value is not in the land, but it's in high-quality food, new strains of food, healthier food, growing local food, superior distribution. Agriculture is currently less than 3% of the economy. I doubt if there's many of you who want to be an average farmer, that if you are into farming, that you're finding innovative new crops, interesting new distribution channels, and interesting new enhancements to productivity. And you're not farming the same way that people farmed 100 years ago, that you're a business person making their money off of agriculture rather than a traditional farmer. The mind is also more important than unskilled labor. We know that we can make more stuff than we can use. There's tremendous global overcapacity. We have simply too many steel mills, too many aluminum smelters, too many car manufacturers, too many television manufacturers. We have the ability to make way more stuff than people can consume. And so we see manufacturing moving to lower and lower cost labor regions. In fact, we even start to see the Chinese outsourcing to places like Sri Lanka. I mean, imagine that. The Chinese are saying to their laborers that are making 100 euros a month, 100 euros a month is too much. I'm outsourcing you to the Sri Lankans that I can pay 10 euros a month to. This is the value of unskilled labor. Unskilled labor has almost no value. Governments, the U.S. has a real problem with this, basically allow illegal immigrants to do the low-cost jobs. Nobody in the United States wants to do the low-cost work, and so the U.S. kind of looks the other way and allows migrant farmers to come in to pick strawberries and things like that. The value is not in the unskilled labor. The value is in innovation. The value is in the products and services. The value is in higher quality, faster speed of innovation, more powerful brands, and even products in general now are only 30% of the economy. And again, I don't think there's a single one of you in the MBA program that wants to be an unskilled laborer at all. But, capital. Money is more important than capital. Basically, governments are printing useless currency. They cover it up with words like quantitative easing, but governments are printing money like the term is that they're printing it like drunken sailors. They're cramming liquidity into the market more than the market wants. Useless paper backed by nothing at all. Loans are getting unpaid with no consequences. Greece recently cut their debt, in half? With no consequences. The interest paid on money is almost nothing. If you take, if you give the bank your money and put it in a savings account, the interest they pay is close to nothing. Maybe 0.25%. Money has almost no value. We have more capital than we have good ideas to invest in. And even if you look at some of the IPO markets, we're seeing publicly traded companies going public nowadays. Publicly traded companies going private nowadays. Basically, there's fear that there will be global hyperinflation in the future and that any money that you currently have will become useless in the future. That it'll be like Argentina or the Weimar Republic or Italy, where the value of their currency, just every couple of years, they had to keep adding more zeros onto the currency because it became worth less and less and less. And so capital doesn't have much value anymore either. Land, not as important. Labor, not as important. Capital, not as important. It's all the power of the mind. The mind, your brain, is the fundamental source of all increase in wealth and happiness on the planet. We have more food today, more health, more happiness, more stuff, more TVs, more phones than we've ever had in the past. And every time we create and produce a new thing, we increase the total quantity of wealth available on the planet. So the pie is getting bigger. Every day, the pie is getting bigger. More things, more TV, more medicine, more entertainment, more music, more things. The pie is expanding. So managers have access to land, labor, and capital, but entrepreneurs don't. Very often, entrepreneurs have nothing but their own mind. They start with spotting a new opportunity. They start with nothing but an idea, and they're able to acquire resources from other people. So if you start a new business and you don't have anything but a good idea, you have to find other people to give you money. You have to find other people to give you their labor. You have to find other employees to help work with you. You have to find other people to maybe give you supplies and access to their networks and things. You have to find a way to inspire and motivate other people to join you on your adventure, because you can't just pay them like a big company might be able to. So the question I have for each and every one of you, if the mind is so important, what are you putting into your mind? What are you doing for yourself? What are you doing to have positive beliefs, positive information, enhancing your personal skills and capabilities? What are you doing for self-improvement and personal growth? What are you reading? What are you learning about? What are you putting into your head? What are you spending your time doing in terms of meeting other people? Are you just hanging around with people you already know? Are you hanging around with people that are good for you? Or are you networking and building positive relationships that will help get you from who you were to who you are capable of becoming in the future? Do you have curiosity and passion to learn about new things, or are you stagnant? What have you learned in the last year that makes you a better person? And what are you going to do in the next year that's going to make you a better person? Because 10 years from now, you'll still be 10 years older. But will you be 10 years better as a person is the question. Business is all about people. People, people, people. You have to surround yourself with great people. But guess what? Great people want to surround themselves with other great people too. So you need access to other great people, but they want access to you only if you're a great person as well. So you have to be a great person to be able to find great people. And that means you have to find something that you're really good at. You have to have something that you are different at than other people. You need some kind of hard skills and soft skills that differentiate you from other people. And this is where continuous learning and improvement comes in. And this is, again, an important area in this MBA program, is don't just sit back and wait for me to somehow make you a better person. Don't just sit back and wait for me to tell you what you should learn. You have to seize the opportunity to learn things on your own. Business is all about people. People, people, people. You need to surround yourself with great people. In fact, if you go to the Stanford website or any of the other online sources of things about how to be an entrepreneur, every entrepreneur says, you got to surround yourself with great people. It's true. But to surround yourself with great people, you have to be a great person. That they don't want to surround themselves with idiots. They want to surround themselves with other great people. So you have to be a great person to attract great people to you, which means you have to be really good at something. Something. And it has to be something relevant and important. But to just say, well, I'm a business person, well, so what? You have to be good at something. And so you can't wait for me to tell you what to be good at. You can't wait for me to teach you everything you need to learn about becoming deep in some area. You have to have your own passion and curiosity and interest in learning about something so that you can become excellent and deep at that thing. And it doesn't actually matter what it is, but what we know is that there's a tremendous correlation between success and the depth of your expertise at something. I'll give you an example, would be a computer programmer. So nobody hires a generic computer programmer. People hire somebody who knows how to program Java, and they want them to be really good at programming Java. Or they want to hire a C++ programmer who's really good at C++. Nobody's interested in a computer programmer that's okay at Java, okay at C++, okay at Perl and Lingo and other things. Deep expertise becomes important. And this is the importance of continuous learning and improvement. And this is something you have to figure out for yourself. And so we'll have some exercises during the course of my course, at least, to help give you the opportunity to find something that you want to be better at and to learn about that and to do an assignment related to that. And so I urge you to seize the opportunity to take the time to become better at something and not just have a superficial level of understanding about things. So the second thing about becoming a great person is you have to have high goals and be passionate about those goals. Now I'm going to have a much more detailed talk later on about goal setting, but one thing we know about goals is the higher the goals, the higher the performance. So you need to be able to set high goals for yourself, but for the people around you as well. And then learn how to inspire and motivate them to achieve these goals. And of course, you have to be able to make plans and keep commitments. Ultimately, greatness is about character. You have to have integrity. When you say you'll do something, you have to be able to do it.